Someone linked this earlier. CNN polling political parties. Web and Telephone and the SSRS Opinion Panel, a nationally representative panel of U.S. adults, 18 or older, recruited using probability-based sampling techniques. I'd like to take a look at your methods. Whatever, we'll take it as true. 1,206 respondents, 3.3% margin for sampling error. That's not too bad. Let's see. The Democratic Party, 29% favorable opinion, 54% unfavorable, 16% no opinion. Remarkable. This is the lowest favorable opinion rating the Democrats have ever had by the methodology of this polling. Oh, yeah. Ever had. Wow. Ever. Since the polling began in 2002. Yeah, going back, I mean, presumably there's been variance in the methodology, but, oh, sorry, not 2002. It goes over here, too, all the way back to 1992, when it wasn't conducted as frequently, and the favorability rating was in the high 50s. What an achievement. And now we're all the way down to 29%. Jesus. As opposed to right after Jan 6, 2021, when we were at 49%, which is the highest the favorability rating has been for the Democrats since, March 2016. Kind of crazy how much Democratic favorability relies on Trump's unfavorability, you know? Like, the Democrats recently have only ever looked good in stark contrast to Trump. The only times there are spikes in their favorability, it's after Trump does something really bad. They don't stand on their own 2 feet. And this is the highest unfavorable opinion. No, they were also really low down here. November. After Hillary lost, November 17 to 20th. It's all Trump, man. Isn't this a good thing? I think it's a good thing, yeah. I mean, good. People should hate the Democrats, should despise the Democrats. And then here's the Republican Party, which currently has a higher favorability of 36%. Their numbers are going to hold more steady because of the cult thing, since Donald Trump kind of consolidated the party at the very least. And at the very beginning of Trump's first term, he had a very low favorability rating. And then... yeah, right after Jan 6, 32%. But since then, it's hovered more. It's 62% unfavorability right after Jan 6. So what now? Stop asking questions like that. Overall, would you describe the views and policies in each of the following as too extreme? Republican Party, 50% say too extreme, 49% say generally mainstream. I think both of these things are true. And exactly the same numbers for the Democrats. Basically exactly the same numbers for the Democrats. That's great. In your view, is the leadership of the Democratic Party currently taking the party in the right direction or the wrong direction? I don't think questions like this are very useful unless you're controlling for what a person's party allegiance is, right? Because, like, you know, wow, 48% think it's the right direction, 52% in the wrong direction. Okay, like, you know, how many Republicans are you roping in there? Even if you got it like a 50-50 split, I want to know how many, like, Democrats versus Republicans. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. It says right here, this is among Democrats only. It literally said that right here in bold. Vosh Reed. I'm trying. It says it right here. Well, you know what? If nothing else, I think it speaks to my familiarity with the you know, selective usefulness of this kind of polling data, that I would ask for party favorability specific answers in the question that then began to account for it. You know what I mean? Then it's like, basically what I'm saying is, like, with no prior knowledge, me and the poll designers are operating on the same wavelength, you know? Same two brain cells bouncing around up there. Yeah, even more Democrats think we're going in the wrong direction than after we lost to Trump with Hillary Clinton. With Republicans in control of Congress and the presidency in general, do you think the Democrats should mainly work with them or mainly work to stop them? And back in 2017, 74% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents said work with the Republicans. Now only 42%. It is crazy that even right now, 42% of Democrats would say working with the Republicans. I mean, I guess considering the fact that a lot of Democratic voters don't really consume political media, and they're basically just getting like I want to accuse them of being collaborationists, but to be fair, Republican voters are getting nonstop oppositional messaging, and Democrats aren't. If you're a Democratic voter, like, all you hear about are these little blurbs or like late night talk show riffs on what the administration looks like or something. You know what I mean? You're not getting, like, you're basically being, like, ideologically conditioned into being a pussy. Which person best reflects the core values of the Democratic Party amid Democrat or Democratic-leaning independents? AOC at the top. Jesus. That's crazy. AOC, Kamala Harris, who was, of course, just the presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders, Hakeem Jeffries is up there just for name recognition, Barack Obama, he was the president, Jasmine Crockett, I am surprised Jasmine Crockett is 4% up here. Jasmine Crockett has not been as long in the public light as, say, AOC. You know, like she's been popping off a lot more recently. It's all and only name recognition. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. If it was entirely name recognition, it would just be Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, right? The fact that AOC is at the top is pretty significant. Crazy that Biden is nowhere. That is pretty funny, yeah. Compared to in 2017, 18% say Barack Obama, 14% Bernie Sanders, 10% Hillary Clinton, then Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, that makes sense. In 2017, you see like the primary lineup and also Barack Obama. I have to say the field was a lot narrower back in 2017 than now, huh? A lot more consolidation. I don't know how we can expect to get out of this mess unless Democrats start taking the oppositional messaging stuff seriously. You know? Like, they really need to get on board with that. I don't know, like, what else you could mass voter reform. No, mass voter reform wouldn't work because you could reform the vote somehow, and then people would just vote for Trump, you know? But that's the thing. They don't care about getting out of this mess. I don't think that's true for the majority of people in the Democratic Party. I think there are people like Schumer who are just enemies of life and of humanity. But I do think that for a lot of the Democratic representatives, they're just kind of ideologically conditioned into not knowing how power works. There are people who care. Why is Obama so quiet? You don't want him to speak up. Every time he does, he makes things worse. Obama is why we're here in the first place. True. Yeah, honestly, maybe it's a blessing that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have gone, good night, y'all, off. It's not like anything they had to say right now would be even remotely helpful. If anything, it would just continue to mislead the party. Like them for caring so little, but at the same time, you know, don't know what it would actually lead to. Oh, Harris will be back. Yeah, after Gavin Newsom runs as the Republican presidential candidate, or one of them, in 2028, somebody will have to run for governor in California. Obama is good. Leave him alone. I remember I think that there was a point in time where I could believe that, and it was before I was a leftist, and it was a much more comforting point in my life. So I guess I can understand returning to that belief the way one would like a childhood toy, but eventually you have to set it down and understand like how we got here. I just want you to be happy. I just want you to escape like the eternal cycle. Republicans did. They entered a worse cycle, but they did escape that cycle. The gubernatorial elections in Cali are in 2026. She's coming in 2 years, not 4. Well, whatever. It's like thinking Bill Clinton was good. Yep, still a position held by the vast majority of Democrats. Instead of idealizing or idolizing Obama, Dem should idolize LBJ. He's a much better war criminal. Does anyone else think that focusing on how Obama was a war criminal is actually kind of doing him a service? He was a war criminal in such a banal way. Oh, he did the drone strikes that killed civilians. Okay, like everyone's done that except for Biden, and George W. Bush before they had drones did other much worse shit. Like the reason, because a lot of people will go like, oh, Obama did the drone strikes. Okay, whatever. We were like fighting terrorism or something. I don't know. He got bin Laden. And they won't focus on the reasons that people should hate him that aren't as widely discussed, which is the fact that he sold the Democratic Party out by pretending to be progressive and then running down the neoliberal gambit in a way that all but guaranteed the rise of MAGA. Like the problem, is it bad he did war crimes? Yes, I do think war crimes are bad. It's one of the opinions that I have that I'm famous for. However, like the thing that the like meaningful line of critique here as it pertains to what we're looking at is not about the war criminality. It's about, you know, the dialectic, the ideological framing. It's about the cycle of samsara. Also, a lot of people who are mad at drone strikes get mad when it's only terrorist Vosh and no civilians. Well, I also don't think we should be engaging in like indefinite, non-congressionally backed military actions in foreign countries for the fun of it, you know? I'm not principally against drone strikes as like a tool against, you know, enemy combatants, but it's like just non-stop. You know, you have to wonder like how much we need to be doing. Sadly, the one president who ended that got nuked by voters for it. Yeah, but people didn't nuke Biden because he stopped the drone war. One of the main reasons people were disillusioned with him is because he was complicit in the genocide of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. So, you know, Hundreds of thousands? 100%. Absolutely. The idea that the death count of Palestinians stopped at 40 something thousand, which when it was recorded like a year ago or whatever, total bullshit. There's a reason why Israel just doesn't let humanitarian observers, reporters, whatever, even in like conflict low areas. Like the idea that it stopped at the 40 something, that's just total bullshit. I'll never believe that, not to my dying day. Maybe we get a full accurate count one day, but I doubt it. It seems like Israel's going to win. They're going to pave over the bones in the Gaza Strip, make sure nobody can find out. The Gaza Resort, you mean? Yeah. I trust we assume then that Hamas can be trusted for those numbers. The numbers that people are currently going with are the numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry, you troglodyte. I suppose we're going with the Hamas count. The Hamas count is what people accept. That's the count that people are going with. Except the Gaza Health Ministry is dead now. They can't count. How do you count? You can't even wash your dishes. How do you count hundreds of thousands of people dead in bombed out ruins where the corpses are buried underneath, thousands of pounds of rubble, and you're being moved around by the army all the time, and also they just shoot you randomly? No, that count stopped being updated a long time ago. It's like how the official Ukrainian civilian death toll count has been paused at what, like 17,000 or something for a while, but it's definitely not 17,000. It's much higher than that. But they're not counting any higher because they only want to count confirmed kills. They don't want to just guesstimate it because that denigrates the perceived credibility of the list. Not me. I'm not a non-government organization. I'm not the Gaza Health Ministry. I'll just say it. 50 billion people Israel's killed. Hundreds of thousands, probably. I don't know how many. I haven't been there, as far as you're aware. If I was there, it would have gone down different. The real issue is with the health ministry counts. They don't distinguish between militants and civvies. They do. But also, it's kind of an irrelevant distinction because there just weren't that many Hamas to begin with. Where are you people coming from? Oh, for one, like, death toll is death toll, but also the blurring of who is or isn't a civilian. This is like an Israel-forced propaganda issue, You mentioned Israel, so the sleeper bots are activated. Yeah, I see. That's true. They killed 8 aid workers / journalists yesterday. They kill journalists and workers every day. Literally, like, they have a ceasefire going on. And it was a news article from literally yesterday, and it was like the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas continues to hold, though Israel did bomb and kill like 16 civilians the other day. It was like, is that a ceasefire? I thought the fire had to cease in order for it to be a ceasefire. My apologies. Perhaps like my understanding of the term is antiquated. The real ceasefire is the friend that we made along the way. That's true. Israel keeps up attacks in Gaza despite truce. In latest strikes, the Israeli military killed at least 9 people, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Israel says militants were threatening its forces. Right. The ceasefire continues. So Israel breaks truce, but they were cucked. They literally had a ceasefire with Lebanon and continued bombing civilians in Beirut during and through it. Like, it just never stopped. Like, ceasefires can only apply towards Israel, not from them. Yeah, what do they call an Israeli ceasefire? When they stop to reload. Like, that's it. They've never stopped at any point to anyone. Why would they? They can do whatever they want. They bombed terrorists for using a drone, but they were aid workers for using a drone to map tent placements. Palestinians mourn over the bodies of their relatives killed by an Israeli airstrike in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza Strip on Saturday. The Israeli military says it was targeting terrorists operating a drone in the area, but the head of Gaza's civil defense, Mahmoud Basal, says they were aid workers from the London-based Al Khair Foundation, along with 2 journalists working with the group. This is from NPR. So notice how the claim made by the Israeli military doesn't have to provide any proof, but the claim made from the head of Gaza's civil defense supplies proof. But the Israeli military is given like de facto privilege and believability by virtue of it being the Israeli military, whereas the head of Gaza's civil defense, Mahmoud Basal, probably like 90% of Zionists would say, oh, that guy's Hamas, when he's like objectively not. But he supplies evidence, says the aid workers were from the London-based Al Khair Foundation. Oh, so they were like foreign journalists and aid workers. That's like really easy to track if they died then. In a video statement on the group's Facebook page, the founder of Al Khair Foundation, Qasim Rashid Ahmad, confirmed that 8 members working with the organization had been killed, saying they were documenting how to add an additional 1,000 tents to the area. All of them were on humanitarian missions. The area where the strike happened is designated a free movement area by the Israeli military, far from the buffer zone along the outer edges of Gaza where movement is restricted. In a statement released Sunday morning, the Israeli military reiterated it struck a terrorist cell, including an individual who had participated in the October 7th Hamas-led attack on southern Israel. It said the group had been using the drone to carry out attacks against Israel forces in Gaza, but they don't provide any evidence. Every claim made by the non-Israeli actors in these dynamics, they provide evidence. They're like, yeah, here's the people, here's what they were doing, here is their work. And Israel's just like, nah, they were terrorists. No evidence provided. It's so nice not having to like argue against Israel anymore now that the whole world hates them. Like even the average Democrat voter in America sympathizes more with the Palestinians than they do Israel at this point. And that's after like so much propaganda. Like Israel is just so hateable they lost the propaganda war on their own. They didn't win it. The only reason Israel gets to do what they want is because the US government is with them, you know? Oh, they're doing evil things. I can't stop them from doing that. I'm just saying, like, you know, there used to be so many, like, pinheaded contrarians in chat who would waltz in and be like, can you prove that this obviously genocidal group of genociding soldiers who brag about doing genocide killed innocent people like they've done several hundred times this month, but like can you prove they did it this time though? And like I don't have to like I no longer have to argue against the wind anymore. I can just let it blow past me. They're still here? Yeah, the wind is still here, but you need not concern yourself with it. Plant your feet, you know, firmly, and the wind won't blow you away. It's all going to be okay. Unless you're Palestinian, in which case you're being killed right now. Israel does so much to keep anti-Semitism alive, it's crazy. Well, they benefited from it, right? Like the military-industrial complex and the enormous amount of money that it makes by fronting Israel as a colonial project benefits from the perception that Jewish people are safe only in their walled-off conclave where they maintain like a fascist ethno-state backed by the most powerful military force in the world, right? Like that's their interest. But the people who make these decisions are not Jewish. Netanyahu is self-serving, like many fascist leaders, but like the actual like weight here is just the American, you know, congressional military force, right? Like it's actually so like they don't give a shit about anti-Semitism. Why would they? There are Nazis in government right now, you know, like what possible interest could they have in not promoting anti-Semitism when the people that run the show right now are literally Nazis? It all falls in line for them. The biggest Zionists are secular Jews. I don't think that's true, man. There are plenty of secular Jews that are big Zionists, but like there are literally American Christian representatives who are going to Congress in an IDF uniform, or they'll do like Zoom calls from their office and they have a giant Israeli flag hanging behind them. Remember that? Which one was that one? Like they are like, it's not like Jews are not the biggest Zionists. Like even remotely, there's a direct one-to-one relationship between like how Rick Scott, how like militantly in favor of the greater order, the greater MIC order you are, and how much you pretend to be a Zionist, or I guess how much you authentically are a Zionist, right? It's been an insincere genocidal colonial project pretty much from the get-go. Justin Trudeau's a Zionist, government suck. Well, yeah, it's not like Justin Trudeau isn't wrapped up in it, right? The whole West is. This video, lol. It is genuinely insane. Like, look at this, man.
Hi, Senator Rick Scott here.
Literally, a senator of the United States, and on his wall, more prominently, no, do you see an American flag? Gigantic Israel flag. Insane. And people are mostly blowing him up over this, but, you know.
I hear from Americans, it seems like every day, they're sick and tired of changing their clocks back and forth. I mean, we need to lock the clock. Now we have President Trump in the White House. He agrees. Lock the clock. I have a bill, it's called the Sunshine Protection Act, which would lock the clock and stop this forever changing.
Great stuff. Look at this. German officials literally won't go to Israeli anti-Semitism conferences because they invited too many anti-Semites. French German officials opt out after Israel invites far-right to anti-Semitism conferences. Okay. What? Okay. Prominent far-right figures on the International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism's guest list include Jordan Bardella, president of the far-right French National Rally Party, Marianne Maréchal, a far-right French member of the European Parliament, and Herman Tertsch, a far-right Spanish member of the European Parliament. Fantastic. All right, whatever. You gotta get out of the clown car.